Thank you for staying with us on TMI. Let's have our second and indeed our last discussion on the program this morning. I'm joined by Bishop Austin Igbasa, is a public commentator. Next to him is Destiny Owobo, who's an economist and a statistician. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure always to have you come talk to us here on our program. Destiny, I'd love to begin with you, right? Yeah. We understand that we are gradually easing the lockdown and all of the restrictions across the country. What does that say? There are economic implications, basically. And,
of course, quite naturally, the government needed to strike a balance between the economy and the health issues. And so, quite naturally, the whole world, the trend now is if the world does not look at it from the economic angle, the world will go into a recession. And then a serious recession that will lead to a serious depression. And which will be worse than what was seen in 1929, the famous Great Depression that took over the world. So, and the aftermath of that may be even more dangerous than the COVID-19 issue. So the government needs to strike a balance. So while there are easing tensions, people are becoming aware of the fact that government needs to find a way to ease tensions, fight the disease, and also allow economic activities to continue in a measured way, in a way that can be measured and controlled, so that people don't suffer too much, especially for economies like Nigeria that are highly informal. And over 80% of the economy is informal, and people depend on small things it's not an organized economy. It is very important that government should ease the economy, allow people to get back to work, while also looking at other measures to control the disease and the spread of the pandemic.
Nigeria is doing a lot of borrowing at this point. Of course, that's understandable, given the fact that we're dealing with a pandemic, especially on this scale. The government is also looking at borrowing 850 billion from the capital markets.
Of course.
Are we getting ahead of ourselves, even though we're under pressure here?
Yes, we are. Like I told you, on this show a couple of weeks ago, I said something about you can get addicted to borrowing, and borrowing is a simple, is the laziest approach to solving a problem. Like I said, there are more creative ways to solve problems, but when people have access to funds where they can borrow, they quickly run to that.
But some people also would say these are not normal times, so you may not have that kind of environment.
Okay, we've not had normal times in this country. We have not had COVID-19 in this country in the last 10 years, for instance. So, but we borrowed and borrowed and borrowed.
Every other year.
Okay, so normal or no normal, the debt system, we are now becoming debt managers. COVID-19 is just a special case. It's just another opportunity, like I said, for people who are debt-minded, borrowing-minded, to borrow. So it's not as if, when we say borrowing, like I told you before, when we say borrowing, it's supposed to be something used to solve a problem, to prevent it from happening in the future. Now, you don't borrow every time to solve a problem. In this case, there's a valid reason to borrow.
Okay.
Now, but what explains all the borrowing we'll be doing since? There's a reason why we borrow. For example, the US is not borrowing right now. There are other countries that are not borrowing right now as we speak. Why are they not borrowing? Because there are fundamental structures in the economy that ensure that income will be generated, and there are a lot of savings kept for situations like this. Most countries were very prepared for things like this. The Asian countries were prepared. European countries were not very prepared for things like this. But it appears that some countries have some level of economic preparedness for crisis situations like this, although not of this scale. Nobody has anticipated this kind of massive scale. But were we prepared? Did we even anticipate it? Did we even see anything like this coming in the first place? What did we put in place? For instance, we talked about diversification a long time ago, how we are going to generate income, so that when things like this come, we can run somewhere and pick the money. The only place we get money from now is our sovereign wealth fund, which is depleting heavily. And then the price of oil has collapsed. So mathematically, without borrowing, our economy will collapse in the next 1 year. So it makes sense to borrow. But then again, there are issues we should look beyond the borrowing. After borrowing and solving the problem, there's still the problem. Like I told you, borrowing is a stopgap measure to solving the problem. There are long-term problems of finance in this country. The long-term implications of the finance is that our economy is underdeveloped, under-diversified. It is too monocultural, monoeconomic, based on a single product, which is dying in the international market. The price of oil is no longer gold. They used to call it black gold.
Right.
It's no longer black gold.
So that name is inappropriate right now.
It's inappropriate. technology is going beyond that. Electric cars, electric trains. People are looking at other alternatives to energy. Nigeria should have a national policy deliberately away from crude oil, from fossil oil, because the world is orienting towards other things. There's a bigger tsunami coming when the world gets complete alternatives to crude oil. What happens? The price will naturally, it becomes just oil, like the way it is, and no money will come from it. So beyond the COVID, I'm trying to look beyond. Why we are borrowing to solve the problem, to survive before that long run we're talking about. The government should be more proactive. The government should put structures in place to ensure that most of our youths are employed in high technology-oriented production, so that we can have more money flowing to this country from what we call human capital. Like I don't even believe in agriculture, like I told you before. Agriculture is not, agricultural processing generates more money than agriculture itself. Okay, the
value chain.
The value chain. So it's not. We are just looking. We are still looking at the primary aspects of economics. What we, for instance, as I speak to you right now, why the whole world is lamenting and crying, the technology giants are making more money. Like I told you, the greatest wealth now is information management. Here, not cutlass and hoes anymore. So the government should see it as an opportunity to train the 65 million unemployed youths in this country, to educate people to take advantage of the internet space technologies, so that when things like this happen, we don't go back. The big oil is no longer that oil. The big oil is here in space. Okay? Information is the new gold. Is the new gold. So we need to train millions of Nigerians on information management, software giants, coding, networking skills, so that they can get integrated into the global economy. That one is not affected by price of oil, by tsunamis and things like this. I mean, they follow you as you go along. So we should see it as an opportunity. Okay. That is the long-term solution to the debt problem.
We have a whole lot to talk about as far as the economy is concerned, amid the COVID-19 crisis. But Bishop, there's also the concern that a lot of persons, politicians in particular in this case, are now also latching onto COVID-19 to play more politics rather than focus on the problem that we have on our hands.
I think it's just Nigerian factor that politicians use every opportunity to selfishly do things that will be very comfortable to them. That they look at it that some persons look at whatever comes from here now, COVID-19, to some politicians is a way of having milk and honey. It's a way of gathering wealth. It's a way of making all recovering from all those things you sold when you were contesting. So many of them don't see it as a problem, as a means of reaching out to others to be able to lift them up and sort them out. They see what I need to use this opportunity to just make sure that I am on top. You see, you talk a palliative measure. Some persons use it as a way of buying the heart of some persons to support them for whatever they want to do. So politicians don't see that problem as a major thing that need to be sorted out. But what do I get from inside? Well, okay, this person is not supporting me. What do I give to this person to support me now because of what is on the ground? So that is the issue we have. In other climes, the thought in this period is looking at the problem, proactively attending to the problem and building up a kind of capacity, because whenever there's a problem, I tell people that whenever there's a problem, there's a progress inside problem. There's a progress inside problem. Like me now, within this coronavirus, I've written 6 books. None of them is less than 150 pages. If there's no COVID-19, I would have been traveling here and there. I won't have time to write those books. I've written, I wrote about family spirit, I wrote about forgive and forget, I wrote about causes and cure, I wrote about bringing the best out of you. I've written 5 books now within this period. I would have not had time to be able to do that. And now within the time, I will have to give some work to printers, because now nobody is doing wedding, nobody is doing naming, nobody is doing invitation card. But as a printer, you must look beyond that. That within this period, what can I do? There are people that are even within printing work, they are Old Testament printers, that they must go beyond that one and go digital. But every problem has a progress inside. That is why I told people around me that when you say disadvantage, the meaning of disadvantage means disadvantage. This is an advantage. Now, to those who are ICT giants, it's an advantage. People use more of their phone to do a lot of things now. They buy data and all the rest of them. So any country, like my brother has said here, any country that build on capacity will see this as an opportunity. It will be, now you do more of online, and you cannot use your tongue to do online. You have to buy data. Now those who are into that kind of business, people have to buy with sitting at home to do what you need to do at work. All other part of the world, people sit at home to work. In UK, there are a lot of people that they don't go to work. They sit at home, their work is at home. They do it on the system. But our own is still Old Testament, analog, everything is analog. Now, it is a time that we must wake up. I think our politicians also must look beyond using this. Some persons use it as a way to oppress their opponent now. Or anybody that is opposing to you. It's a time to use this COVID-19 to press them down and drain them, or cause them to come to your side by all means. So I felt that the way our politicians reason, I have to tell you that some persons are smiling to bank among politicians now with what is happening. They smile to bank.
How is that happening?
Yeah, because some set of money were sent and they have to disburse it with the disbursement go with people that are on your side. So when you give to people that are on your side, those ones will begin to jump up. The people who are not on your side, they have to die of hunger. You have to intimidate them, because this COVID-19 is a weapon in the hand of politicians. It's a weapon. It's not a sickness. It's a weapon. Now, it's a weapon. It's a money-making organization. It's a means to amass wealth. It's a means to oppress people. It's a means to gather something and prepare. Some persons see it as the best way to jump up now and prepare themselves for another political season, because what they needed to gather has to be gathered through COVID-19. So that is the mentality of most politicians. And I say this one, we do respect to politicians, that 85% of politicians don't see this as a problem. It's a money-making organization. And I give you an example. This COVID-19 is just a few days ago that virologists are being called to come and sit down to set up a committee. Where do you do such in a country? That since this pandemic has started, that we have all the virologists that are supposed to have been doing 24 hours, and when we have not built on them, if we have given money to them to do research, when this kind of problem comes, we'll be able to lay hand on them and say, what do we do? How do we come out of here? I ask people have been discharged of COVID-19. What are we using for them that they are being discharged? How do we build on that particular thing that we are? The people that are discharged, is it God that is healing them, or what is happening? What have we used for them to be discharged? What are we doing to build on what we gave to them that make them to be out of their wood? Now, that is how a country that is progressive thinks, not thinking analog when people are thinking digital.
Bishop, let me ask you the question. We've seen massive private sector support as far as this pandemic is concerned, especially at the federal level. We've seen institutional donations here and there. Are we making the most of these opportunities?
I think, one thing about government is that those who are donating, if they don't donate directly to government, they are also donating to get patronage. You understand that in my place they say somebody that live in the town, we buy bread come when it's coming to village. Those who are in the village, we give you yam and other things, because it is a trade by barter.
Exchange.
Yes, you have to do an exchange. So if those who are donating want to really do it the way they ought to do it, they ought to do it directly to the people that are concerned. You can't bring bag of rice to this state now. You have to take it to the government house, or take it to commissioner of agric. But there are ways, and if that food is going to be distributed to the real people, you'll be surprised that the real people that needed that rice may be 10% out of 100%. But if you as an organization decided to enter a place like Ego or Kada, or you enter some material place like Afuze and all the rest of them, and you come out and you meet the Aunoge, you meet the people in charge, the community leader, CDA and all that, you will be able to get that thing to the real people that need it. Some of those things will be there. We don't want to be distributed. We know of states that those things ended up in the compound of a politician. So the donation is good, but the disbursement and taking it to the people that really need it, that is where our problems are. And if you do that as a corporate organization, you decide to go and do it, the government will not appreciate you, and your patronage will be low because you didn't take it through the channel where there are bureaucracy, and you will not be able to get that. That's the problem we have in our country, that People cannot, somebody cannot, there are people that can tar road in this country.
Individuals.
Yes, individuals that will tar the road. But the bureaucratic order is that you have to go through the government. And when you put the money, it ended up to the other side. So I feel that, thank God for those who are donating. God will pay them that they have donated. But the disbursement and taking it to the people is what is not right.
Okay.
We have not done it very well to be able to take it to the real people that really need it.
We're going to talk about many, I mean, at least one more public interest issue before we conclude this discussion. But let me talk to Destiny quickly here. Nigeria, as well as other African countries, are now saying, look, we need debt relief from the Bretton Woods institutions, as we know them, the IMFs and the World Banks of this world. As it stands right now, we understand that Nigeria has enjoyed a little of relief on that, I mean, along that line.
Yes.
Will relief answer the questions, all the economic questions we'll be asking?
We've been giving relief before, about 20 years ago, under Ngozi Iweala, 2004. You know, we're giving relief, but we accumulated the debt again to about 89 trillion. I mean, $89 billion. So, the relief is okay, it's welcome. But like I said, as an economist, there are fundamental issues we need to deal with. You were talking about institutional donations just now. You know, I told you, Nigeria is a big country. To solve the problem of this country, you need institutions. We don't need strong men. What we need is institutions. Now, a company, just one individual through its institution, could donate 2 billion to the federal government, 2 billion. Now, imagine if our economy was developed and then we have mega institutions like that. Try and do the mathematics so that you see what institutions can do. 2 billion from one institution. Some banks gave 1 billion. Now imagine if we had 80 mega banks, we had 3,000 mega institutions like that. Then you will see that they become governments in their own right. Okay? Bill Gates, through his foundation, gave $100 million to fight COVID, and is investing more millions to get a vaccine. That's because he has institutional power. So what does that tell government? Coming out of this recession, what we should get is that we should build institutions, allow institutional development. It allows an economy to be robust. You know, you are talking something about politicians being selfish. It's not a politician problem. It's a universal problem. Human beings are naturally selfish. You'll be surprised. They are naturally selfish. Let me start from the market woman in the market. Do you know that the price of garri has increased? They are taking advantage of the business. Do you also know that the price of transport has increased? They are taking advantage of the problem. Everybody takes advantage of the problem when their source of income is at stake there. The politicians in Nigeria, the reason why they take advantage of the problem is that their source of income is politics. Okay? Our economy is a rent-seeking economy. Very dysfunctional for a 21st century economy. The bulk of the money used to run this country comes from politics. So politicians, that's their source of income, that's their business. But in a diversified economy, politics only pays a certain amount to certain people. Institutional development, some people work in industries. Are you getting the point now? So we have, just imagine if our economy was diversified, agriculture diversified, services highly developed, banking developed, insurance developed. So when they are trying to make money from that, there are other people who make money from the system. As I speak, there will be winners and losers in the system. So there's nothing we can do about politicians being selfish or selfless. We can't do that. It's human nature. But what we can do is to develop the institutions to prosecute anybody who breaks the rules. Are you getting the point? You can't do that. If you bring Americans to this country under our institutions, they become corrupt in 3 months. They become
because it's a systemic problem.
Because it's a systemic problem. It's not something, if you bring anybody anywhere in the world to come and function in Nigeria, once you understand that there's a loophole, you can take advantage of the system. You take advantage of it. The reason why these countries are doing better is because the institutions are so strong that you know, I told my students one time, if you steal a bottle of Coke in a supermarket in the US, they can send 10 helicopters to pursue you. 10 helicopters. They can destroy 6,000 police vehicles just to get a person who is trying to evade the law. You watch it in movies. What does that tell the American? You steal a bottle of Coke, you are running. They will call vehicles. They will keep calling vehicles, send all the arsenals of the great United States to hunt you, take you to a court, send you to jail. They will spend $600 million to prosecute a person who stole 5 naira. What does that tell the average American? It doesn't work. Crime doesn't pay. Here, if I know if I steal 100 million, the maximum sentence I'm going to get is 3 years, or a court fine of 1 million naira, then it becomes economical to be a criminal. All I need to do is to steal 4 billion, go to court, waste the government's time, then 3 years later, get a judgment of 6 months imprisonment. By then, I'm already a billionaire. So our system is so basic that it doesn't allow diversified institutional development. It explains why anything you do in this system, if we give us debt relief, we will accumulate the debt again. Our institutions are poor, they are porous. If you borrow money in this country, because you are borrowing the money through individual systems, rent-seeking systems, politicians will just lay hold on it and share it. But in the real country, when you borrow money, there are so developed institutions that if you carry a Nigerian to go and rule America, he will still be a good president. You know why? Because Trump is just an American. There are super mega institutions that override even the president himself. That if you try to steal one in America, the FBI is there, the CSA, they are all solid institutions. That even a criminal, a devil, really in America, it will still do well. Because the institutions are so organized.
So going forward, the point is obvious. We have to continue to work
to
on our institutions.
Our institutions.
Yes,
that is the long-term solution to the problem.
Just before we're done, I mean, finally, what do we do going forward? Now, we've done a lot in this country. Restriction, lockdown of different kinds. In some states, total lockdown. In other states, like Edo, for example, partial lockdown for apparent reasons. We have said wash your hands as many times as possible, use alcohol-based sanitizers. What more should we be doing in 1 minute?
I think what we need to do is that I don't believe in total lockdown because I know that the people who are locked inside the house, they need to eat.
Apparently.
And what we need to do now, I believe that the government should look at all the measures that have been put in place. Like I feel that there should be more way that people can test themselves. And we should use this time to develop our own people who can do ventilator, who can do other things that will rely less on people that are coming from outside. We should look inward now and look at how we can develop our own people. And this, like my brother said here, we should look at the graduates that are all over there that needed to be trained in one way or the other. Because what happened now, another one that is bigger can happen. We have Ebola. Nobody was expecting this one. And this one is senior brother of Ebola, and he came. So while we are sorting this one, we may have another senior brother that is coming. Our economy, the kind of boom that is coming, let me not say boom, doom that is coming. So we should be able to prepare. Let us not be waiting for when something will happen, because here we don't have tsunami, we don't have earthquake, so we are so relaxed. Even our flood, we control it. Now we should look at it that it is not going to be like this forever. There are things that will happen.
So we must be proactive going forward.
And also raise a younger generation.
All
right, Bishop Austin Igbasa, we can appreciate you enough for coming to spend a part of your morning with us on the program. Thank you so much. And we also want to thank Destiny Owobo for coming to talk to us about the economic angle of this pandemic. But in all, what these two gentlemen have said essentially, amongst other things, is that this is a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
That's our program for you this Thursday morning. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day as well. Remember the views of our guests and their opinions. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. Stay with Independent Television.